yield to any of my colleagues and ask them if they will say today, very basically, that when it came down to the war in Ukraine, that it was not Ukraine that invaded Russia, it was the other way around. Is there anybody in here that has enough courage to say that Russia invaded Ukraine?
You can have my time.
And this is yet the problem. This is the problem. That is not infringing upon free speech.
Will the gentlelady yield?
You just watched one of the most uncomfortable moments from this hearing. A simple question was asked, one that many people would assume has a clear and obvious answer. But what followed is exactly why this exchange is now gaining so much attention online. Was it politics? Was it strategy? Or was it something else entirely? Let's break down what actually happened and let you decide for yourself.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. It's so interesting to me that we all swear an oath to the Constitution, and we say that we take that oath seriously. But when it comes into actually doing something that looks like preserving that oath or looks like preserving the Constitution, we get a little wobbly, and I'm not really understanding what's going on. Freedom of press doesn't look like kicking out the Washington Post, or actually the Huffington Post has been kicked out. We know that the Associated Press has been kicked out, and now the Washington Post is not going to allow for op-eds in any way if for some reason they criticize the sitting president of the United States. What this is starting to feel like is a smaller version of Russia. And I am trying to tell you that we are nothing like Russia. We are not supposed to be like Russia, but that is what we've got going on. And I'm sorry, I know that some of my colleagues still struggle with answering the question of who won the election in 2020. And you may have felt a way when you had social media checking people and saying, no, Trump did not win the election in 2020. That is absolutely factual. And unfortunately, because some people got all riled up because they believed the lies, they ended up getting locked up because they decided that they were going to believe the lies. They ended up at the Capitol on January 6th, and they were trying to tear this thing apart because they felt like their country was falling apart in front of their eyes because for whatever reason, there were people in power that were peddling a lie about the election. We also know, and some of y'all may still say that COVID was a hoax. COVID wasn't a hoax. Tell that to the over 1 million people that died under Donald Trump's first watch. It wasn't a hoax. So no, I do believe that it was okay. In fact, I do believe that it was ethically right for social media to check people because you had people that didn't know anything about science and decided that they were going to put out whatever lies or propaganda or conspiracy theories they wanted to, and people died. At some point in time, we have to evaluate what is factual, and I know that facts hurt y'all, and I just wish we could get on the same page, but we do know during the presidential election that the president would not go and participate in anything if fact-checking was going to be a part of it, because he didn't want to be fact-checked. We know that the vice president got upset in his vice presidential debate when he was fact-checked. It used to be a time in this country that we as members of Congress or elected officials thought that it was okay to just tell the truth. Instead, we're pushing conspiracy theories, and some of them are killing people. It's the same thing that we have coming out of Doge. It's the reason that people are dying. It's the reason that farmers are losing their farms, because we continue to peddle conspiracy theories. It is time for us to say, Mr. President, guess what? Russia invaded Ukraine. Can we at least agree on that one? Facts matter. Y'all, this is literally potentially putting us into an international crisis. We may be heading towards the next world war because we have a president that wants to pal around with Putin and wants to do everything to make him feel good, including lying about who invaded who. Mr. Chair, I got a minute left, but I really want to yield to any of my colleagues and ask them if they will say today, very basically, that when it came down to the war in Ukraine, that it was not Ukraine that invaded Russia, it was the other way around. Is there anybody in here that has enough courage to say that Russia invaded Ukraine?
You can have my time.
And this is yet the problem. This is the problem. That is not infringing upon free speech.
Will the gentlelady yield?
I will yield to the right.
Thank you, Ms. Crockett. To be clear, your challenge, I think, was across the aisle, because I think every member on your side of the aisle agrees with the obvious fact that Vladimir Putin ordered the filthy, bloody, imperialistic invasion of Ukraine. And in fact, at the time, Donald Trump as president never denied it. In fact, he praised it. He said it was, quote, an act of genius when Putin ordered the invasion of Ukraine. So I would hope some of our colleagues would consent to at least that historical point, since we think history is so important. There are people who want to relive that in our oversight report.
And therein lies the problem.
The time of the general.
What stood out in this moment was what didn't happen. When Jasmine Crockett gave the room an opportunity to openly acknowledge a widely accepted fact that Russia invaded Ukraine, there was silence. Not a single clear response. At most, there may have been a faint acknowledgement from someone, but it didn't appear to come from the Republican side. And that silence has become the focal point of this entire exchange. For some observers, it raises bigger questions about political alignment and messaging. Many point out that prior to Donald Trump's presidency, several Republican lawmakers were openly supportive of Ukraine, including backing financial and military assistance. Today, however, the tone from some of those same figures appears noticeably different. That shift is what people are focusing on. Critics argue that moments like this suggest a reluctance to break from party messaging, even on issues where there was once broad agreement. Supporters, on the other hand, may see it as strategic discipline or a calculated political choice. Jasmine Crockett's challenge wasn't just about Ukraine, it was about putting that shift on display in real time. By asking a direct question and receiving little to no response, the moment became less about the answer and more about the reaction itself. And that's why this exchange is being talked about. At its core, this wasn't just a debate over foreign policy. It became a broader conversation about political accountability, about whether elected officials are willing to publicly state their positions when put on the spot. Ultimately, how you interpret that silence is up to you. Was it simply party politics at work? Strategic caution? Or does it point to something more significant? Moments like these are exactly why congressional hearings matter. They allow the public to watch these interactions unfold in real time and draw their own conclusions. Let me know what you think in the comments below.